Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Well, you delivered.
Yes, isn't that great?
Okay, this is great. So it's a very close shot portrait photo. Is this your daughter? I mean, the hair and it looks like your daughter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she's putting her two hands forward in the kind of like a V. Hands are crossed. She's wearing a leather jacket. Her hair is up in two mini kind of buns. You know, she has this really sweet like smile. Just looking right at the camera.
Oh.
Hamming it up, I guess. It looks like you're in a thrift shop of some sort. Or some kind
We are. Good. Yeah. Good eye. We're in a thrift store.
Yeah, so in the background, it looks like, you know, I can just barely see the hints of racks with clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your daughter's name? Are we allowed to say what your daughter's name is?
Yes, her name is Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin. Okay, so take it away. Great portrait.
Oh, she is a lot. She is wonderful. She is my heart.
Nice.
So
well, she's your daughter.
I know.
Of course, she's your heart.
So we didn't know when she was born. We had no idea she had Down syndrome, and it just every day is just a blessing. It's just different every day. But she is a model. Mm-hmm. She is an actress.
Oh.
She goes to a day program that is specific for the performing arts and visual arts. She's a performing artist. She has done shows at the Guthrie in Minneapolis, Luminary. She did a Christmas Carol about a year and a half ago at the James J. Hill House, which is a big, huge mansion. And it was a ghost story. But she just loves acting and modeling. And this was during a fashion show. And it's at a thrift store. And it is called Embrace Your Style. And it is done around World Down Syndrome Day. And it's all about inclusion. And they have models of all different types and, you know, different abilities and it's just a wonderful way to have people be so expressive. Like I said, embrace your style. She has on, and you can't really see it, but she has on a full sequin silver dress from neck to her knees. And then leather jacket, leather boots, the two little space buns, they're called, I think.
Yeah.
And she came right up to me and did that during the show.
Nice. Nice.
So just free and wonderful and pure.
Well, okay, so your daughter's having Down syndrome, and, you know, basically your life experience and your, you know, way of just basically your experience and her experience are going to be drastically different than, say, mine.
Mm-hmm.
So open that door, and then what is it that you want the world to understand because of the difference, right?
The biggest thing is that there isn't that much of a difference. Like, people come up to me and say that I just had a woman come up to me at a conference and say, "Oh, you are so lucky. You know, people with Down syndrome are so happy and joyful all the time." And I went,
okay. Okay, nice. I would. Okay.
Well, you know, that is not true. And I said this to her. I said that no, like, come over to you should have been at my house this morning. Like, my daughter right now is 28, and she is we call her angsty teen. She is acting and reacting and like a 16-year-old. And she is a handful. And I said, you know, she has good days and bad days, just like everybody else, just like all of us.
She's a human being.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Funny that.
And the biggest thing is when we're standing together, people will ask me questions, and I'm like, she's right, like that they
Right there, yeah.
she's right here, like she can
Mm.
speak, she a lot. I mean, she sings, she dances, I mean, she can answer a question. So we find people and surround ourselves with people and programs and things that where they're really treating her, like they're treating people with respect, and
Sure.
the doctors we have speak directly to her. Like they don't even talk to me. I can just sit in the corner and
Mhm.
be on my phone. I mean, so they're very involved with her and they empower her. And I think that's the
Mhm.
biggest thing is they are people and that they
Of
should have a
course.
choice in what they do and how they live their life. And she's made
Yeah.
a lot of choices for herself. She's in a lot of sports. She just got home right now from basketball, from Special Olympics. She's a swimmer.
Okay.
She just loves to do things. She had 3 siblings growing up, her sister Ashley and then her 2 brothers, and she wanted to do everything they did. Everything.
Hmm.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I'm a shitty host in that what I do is I often interrupt. Okay, and then I'm like, but I have a question. So in terms of birth order, because I'm trying to share your human experience,
Mhm.
right? So in terms of you're growing up, you have you can make this construction or understanding of or the story of the world, and then you get married, and then you decide, or maybe you didn't, to have a child, and so maybe you can sort of frame, in terms of your daughter's like birth order, but also
Mhm.
in terms of as a young parent, like as a new parent, maybe as a parent, what it was like to have this, all of a sudden this is the new reality, and you're like, oh, okay, so how about we make that real for a listener?
So, when I married my husband, he had 2 young boys. And we had Ashley, and we got married, had Ashley. Then I was pregnant with Caitlin. We were going to
Mm.
have 4 children under the age of 5. And I was
Okay,
terrified. I
that's a
worked,
lot.
that's a lot without working 2 jobs. Brian was
Oh wow.
running his own business and he was busy 60, 70 hours a week. I was a manager at a print shop and I was very busy and I had travel. I had
Mm-hmm.
we had a lot going on. We had a lot going on and we had a great system. And I always kind of cringe when people say it takes a village to raise a child. I never really liked
Mm-hmm.
that because I always felt like that meant that somebody could tell my kids what to do kind of thing. But it's not a negative thing. We had a lot of people that helped us. And I
Mm-hmm.
can't imagine what our lives or their lives would have been like without that help.
Mm-hmm. Of
It was
course.
it was a lot. And when Caitlin was born, we had no idea that she had Down syndrome. And the staff at the hospital at that time, granted this was 28 years ago, it's changed a lot. The first words out of the doctor's mouth was, "Your daughter has Down syndrome. Do you want to give her up for adoption?"
Mm-hmm.
That was, just straight. And then basically handed us a brochure on Down syndrome and left. So,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a lot of support at the time.
Yeah, and your brain. First of all, you just came out of giving birth, and you're like,
Hmm.
wow, yeah,
And we have, 3 other kids, young,
wow. Mm-hmm.
and it was chaos. Our house was already chaos, and it just added
Mm-hmm.
that one extra thing to it. And it was, yeah, it was just, it was very difficult at first,
Mm-hmm.
and we made it through. I mean, we did everything we could to make sure that they had a really good good life and a good upbringing. So, they're all still here. They're all wonderful humans. They turned out really good. So I'm so happy.
Yeah, well, for sure. Okay, so as a parent, parents, when you start,
Hmm.
you're just sort of making it up as you go along, and there's no manual, and you're just like, our kids survived. Ah, how great! So there's that.
Hmm.
Already there's that, and ladled on top of that is this sudden awareness, realization, like, what is it to raise a baby who has Down syndrome? In terms of the learning, okay, so your other daughter was born without Down syndrome.
Hmm.
You're within the norm of a newborn versus Caitlin, suddenly a newborn with Down syndrome. Like,
Hmm.
how did your new parent dealing with a newborn cope? Or did you feel like, well, actually newborns are all little monster newborns, like newborns are newborns, it's all the same? Like, what was that like?
It was different because when she was born, she was blue. She didn't have enough oxygen, so she ended up
Mm-hmm.
staying in the ICU. And I couldn't stay as long as she could, but she did get out after a couple days. So it wasn't like she was in, like some babies,
Yeah.
for months. She was able to get out, but she had oxygen on her. And the oldest son, who was about, well, almost five-ish, he said she was born with no nose. So he thought that's why they were helping her breathe, because she didn't have a nose.
Right.
Well, of course she did, but she had a lot of health issues. And that's the thing with babies with Down syndrome is they aren't typical newborns, because they do have issues with their respiratory systems, with their heart, with other things. She happened to be born with 2 holes in her heart, which was
scary.
Yeah, and there was another baby there at the time, and that baby had to be airlifted to a different hospital for surgery at 5 days old with heart issues, and that baby was born with Downs as well. Caitlin had her surgery when she was a year old, but that first year, and the first year she slept a lot, but people think, oh, that's great. But it was nerve-wracking because you never...
I'm sure.
I did the mirror trick to make sure she was still breathing. I would bump the crib, just anything to get her to move. And so I had to wake her to feed her. I had to wake her to change her. Wow. It was a rough first year. Just uncertainty. When my older daughter was born, she never slept. She never. So it was total opposite.
Right.
Completely opposite. And it was opposite when I was carrying them. So I thought for sure that Caitlin was a boy, because it was so different. Everything was different. But it was because she had Down syndrome. So, and and it was a huge shock. And the thing I remember, and the thing I remember is, like, I called my mom and I said, and I was weeping, and I said, Caitlin was born with Down syndrome. And the response from everyone is, I'm so sorry. And I still get that when I say my daughter has Down syndrome. And it's not, there's nothing to be sorry about. Like, she is just an amazing person who does a lot of wonderful things. And, it has been a blessing to have her in our lives.
Clearly. So look, the photo is, a great portrait in a thrift store. She's giving this sweet, expression, clear, beautiful smile, radiating, just great. So is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.